For those of you that need to connect a Topcon machine guided piece of equipment, in this case a grater, to a Carlson type base, if you're on a Topcon job or a Trimble job and you need to do whatever, if you're trying to connect or just connect to a Carlson base, my base is a BRx7, and I spent most of the day trying to figure this out. So what you're going to do is first thing you're going to do is you're going to set up a machine setting. So I have one set up for specifically for each one, and the biggest thing is for the Carlson grading system is that when you have your machine set up, I'm going to just slowly go through. This is all preferences right here. Obviously my mass is on that side, so that's where you want it to. You want to use these settings. This seems to be working the best. I had no issues with it. My radio and my controller is an MCR3. This is a little bit of an older system, but you need to match this equipment that matches inside your machine. So whatever this is in your machine, you need to have these parameters set. And then of course all your settings here for your measurements, and then you would only change this if you change out your antenna from another machine. But this is the antenna installed on my machine, so that's the one I'm using. These are also preferences. Again, you can change this if you like. This is the biggest thing right here. For most Topcon equipment, you're going to have this say RTCM 3.x, which is preferred. It has very little issues, if any. The CMR Plus is more of a Trimble thing, and Topcon's data won't work with it. It doesn't understand it. It's kind of proprietary, but not really. Eventually, I'm sure Topcon's going to get there. But this is pretty reliable. So the thing that you want to change here is you want to go to CMR. CMR, when you're working with Trimble or when you're working with another non-Topcon base, that's the language that this will understand, and pretty much everything will understand it. CMR Plus is just more diverse settings. And then of course you'll click next. I'm not going to do it because I already did it. So if you're getting a globe from your satellite and you're getting an antenna connection, but you're not getting it says waiting to initialize, you need to go in and make sure that your radio obviously is programmed correctly. If it connects, I have a lot of times this thing won't connect. It's just a thing that it does. Today it seems to be nice. So with these settings, you need to make sure that you're on the same frequency as your base. Now, if you're running multiple bases on a job, like for example, there's a Topcon base on the job that some equipment is using, or if you go to another customer and you need to use in my example, my Carlson base on someone else's job, I want to be on a totally different frequency so that my base is not stepping on their base as well. So you would use a frequency that is pretty quiet. You can check that with a scanner if you want. And then the modulation, it's 12.5. I mean, 25, technically you shouldn't be using it. It's illegal, but some people do use it. And then, this is another thing that's pretty important. On the Carlson side of the base, when the base won't really connect to a Topcon machine, you can go with a Carlson Rover, you can go to a Topcon base. But the biggest thing here is the language on the protocol. It needs to be PDL. And it might say EOT or some variation, but it has to be PDL. And then the rest of these things need to match what your base is saying. For example, if you have forward error correction and scrambling on your base, you've got to have it enabled in the box. So basically, I try to leave things the way that they are on the Topcon side of it, like our Topcon bases and Rovers run with these options the way they are in this picture, so it's less stuff that I have to fix. And so we're just going to set those settings, And of course, I'm pretty far away from where the job is. I'm quite far. I'm over 500 feet, but the base is right behind me on a new point that we created. So one of the biggest things also, if this thing ever decides it's going to connect, which it may not, it may just time out. One of the biggest things if you're going to a job that you need to use your own base station, the easiest thing to do in this scenario would be to have them create another known point on their location file and call it like base 2, and then move it somewhere away. So basically they would do that with the rover. They would just they would make a new point, call it base 2 or whatever, and then after they did that, they update their location file, give it to you, and then you can plug it in. Now obviously I had to do a lot of conversions. I had to convert so that the Carlson system understood the Topcon system, and the easiest way to do that, Carlson has a lot of features in it. The easiest way to do that is, rather than working with a TP3 file, whenever you have that data made, have it pulled out in each individual file, as well as having to make a TP3, because you can just slide the TP3 in here and it has everything you need, and you just start going. But when you're working with a Carlson system, those files need to be individual, because the TP3 is proprietary, but the other extensions, even though they're unique to Topcon, they're not proprietary. They're open. So for your line work, your location file, your GC3, your TN3 as well, if you have those TN3s, your LN3, and your GC3, those 3 files, that's enough for Carlson and a web app, either a web application like Top Lake, or you can just do it right in Civil. You can convert the whole file right out the gate, and that's what we did today. And I mean, it's the first time connecting the base, and it was a little bit of work because we had to play with it and just find out what the best settings were. But as soon as we changed the settings, like I said, as soon as we change the settings, if I go to a Topcon grader, you watch this will turn red, because I'm not on the right frequency, so it's not going to connect, right? So I don't have a radio link. It sees the satellites, but it doesn't see the radio link. And this is how fast it goes. As soon as you get it with the right parameters, with an active base, and you're reading the same frequencies, it connects like right away, which is great, which is the way it should work. I mean, how fast is that? What, a couple seconds? So it is possible to do. It's just a little bit of work, a little tweaking. I'm going to try to do some of the videos of me walking through the Carlson system, so that people that have Carlson systems that want to work with Topcon, it's a little work, but it's not a ton. And once you do it once, you kind of it's pretty simple. It rolls right through with it.